But the big story has one word to it: showdown. What are we talking about? The government yesterday directing that the housing fund levy be deducted from workers' pay beginning this month, but employers who it will rely on to remit these contributions have described this decree as illegal. Who will blink first? We have quotes there from President Uhuru Kenyatta, Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli, NAT Secretary General Wilson Sosion, of course the FKE's Executive Director Jacqueline Mugo, and Housing CS James Masharia, and a big picture in the center of a pot that is expected to be the money that will be collected when this will be implemented, unless anything changes between now and, should it be May, is what I'm hearing, May 9th, or at least from May 9th.
This pot will be filled up by taxpayers' money, which the reduction
by your money. You know, sometimes taxpayer sounds very ambiguous. It's you, the viewer, whatever you're watching us from you.
And not everybody qualifies for this housing project, by the way. But they say that it's not a tax, it's like a savings.
Is that the way to save, Mushai? Is that how we should be saving as a country? And of course, who will blink first is the question that many are asking this morning.
Yeah, I think the tax is controversial, as you can see from the headline and the different quotations that has been there. It's been brewing, this is an issue that has been brewing since last year. It was introduced in the tax laws last year. But I think one of the challenges that the private sector is raising is that there is no, the structure under which it is going to is not very clear. In fact, that's what FKE went to court about.
Okay.
They said, who is going to be handling this money? We are being told to pay, but there's supposed to be a fund. There's supposed to be some kind of an advisory board. They had first announced an advisory board.
With a list of members from different organizations, even Kotu and all the like.
Then again, there were questions about why is it an advisory board? Can the advice be ignored?
Okay.
is it an advisory board, or is it the board that controls the money? Because the money is actually under the NHC Act.
Yes.
So it would be going to the National Housing Corporation technically. So there is a little bit of, let's say it's not very clear how this is going to go, and the government really needs to communicate better. And in our current age where we've had a lot of issues around corruption and loss of funds, I think people get very nervous when you're going to get a big pot of money, estimated about 60 billion a year. You really need to be very tight about the governance. How are we going to use this money? Who's going to be deciding? What's the process? And since that is not clear, you know, everybody gets afraid.
But from where you stand, is this a good idea? Because the government says that this will ensure that even the Kenyans have an equal chance of owning a home, a house.
I think the good idea is to develop affordable housing. We need to grow affordable housing because definitely the population is growing, households are increasing, we need those houses. Whether the government should be funding it, whether the government should be demanding, because what is actually happening is that the government is deciding that you must invest in a house. Whether or not you
will use it, whether you need it.
Whether you need it or not, it is compulsory. That's where we're saying free market principles would say that that's not really the best way to go. We should be encouraging developers, creating a level playing field or an easier playing field for them to invest in the housing, and the market grow for itself. But currently, it seems to be the policies to build this number of houses, whether or not there is demand for them, whether or not there is funding for them. So those kind of things, you don't want to interfere too much with the marketplace. Let the market do its own thing, but let the government create an environment where the market can do it. Like we were talking about infrastructure. If you take places like Dandora, Eastlands generally, the infrastructure is very poor. We're not building sewers, we're not providing water, we are not building roads. If you put in those things, then the housing comes up immediately.
Naturally.
It will come up naturally.
Private sector will weigh in on this.
We'll weigh in on that. Yeah.
Last year, a senior Jubilee politician said that, you know, was it last year or the year before, basically said that expect a more resolute government moving forward, a government that will make harder, harsher decisions. Do you get the feeling that on this one, the government is saying no turning back? From what you've seen in terms of the engagement, what's your gut feeling on this matter?
Well, I would say government has we have a new constitution, 2010. And the government within that, the executive has powers that has been given and things to do. And I think generally in the past, the government does tend to dither a bit, even within the powers that it has. But we would still say that, look, there is powers within the law. The constitution, it's powers within the law. And I think this is what FKE is saying. There is a court ruling. So you work within your powers, within the legal the legal structure, and do what you can, because the government can do a lot, and I think they do have capacity to do a lot, but then they must stick within the law.
Stick within the law.
And they can change the law. You know, the law is changeable whenever they can, because you also control parliament. If you need to change the law, change the law. But this is the way that it needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.